Hi, y'all. Welcome, Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us as we rock and roll Monday, best day of the work week. And I'll tell you, we got a lot of stuff lined up today. We'll get to a lot of it. Of course, we'll get to the crying and whining about the hospitals. And all of a sudden, Larry and them pull a trick and said, okay, that's funded now. So I don't know what they're going to cry about today. But they will be crying about something because now we're not funding this over here. So we'll get to all that as the program unfolds. Gene Mills is in the house, the Louisiana Family Forum. Been a while. We're both getting a lot grayer.
I call this the new blonde, man.
Well, mine's right there, too. I looked in the mirror the other day and said, what happened to the black? Hey, mine used to be salt and pepper.
Yeah.
Not no more. Pepper anymore.
It's just salt.
No. It's salted up nicely, as I like to. Brandon's my pepper now.
I'm getting a little salt and right here on my goatee there. So.
Brandon, that ain't nothing.
It's earned honestly, though, man.
Look at Brandon says he didn't have none of that before he became our producer.
That part is true.
It's like I told my wife, I didn't have no gray before I met you. What is this about? She didn't buy that, by the way. All right, Gene's in with us to visit a little bit about some of the issues going down. Number one, I thought it was odd. I want to know Family Forum's position, at least your position, on Harris, because Harris has now hired 21 lobbyists to lobby down in Baton Rouge to get this thing passed. Now, I don't know if it's a beef with you, but earlier when Harris came up, I was reading the article, and I told Brand I was shocked because, and if you didn't say this, I want you to know, you said Harris was not an expansion of gambling, and I think that's one of the biggest expansions of gambling.
Yeah.
So clarify if I'm wrong by what I read.
Well, technically, they partially got the quote correct. I said the extension of the hotel and the restaurant association deal was not an expansion.
That is not what it said.
That was a technical expansion.
Okay.
However, early on, I was the only one that raised the voice of concern.
Well, I heard you were the only one that spoke, but when I read that, and I know how the media can be, okay, I just read that, and I told Brandon probably, I said, that I didn't understand that. Moon. Saying it's not expansion, because when I look at all of it's an expansion. Yeah. By the way, I ran into Ronnie Johns one day, and he was telling me how he's got the only bill that's not expansion. Everything else is. But, you talk to everybody dealing with gambling, their bills don't expand gambling, but everybody else's does. It's an amazing thing to watch behind the scenes.
Well, the way they measure expansion is expand the number of license or the number of boats. And the problem is that's not how you measure expansion. When you're dealing with gambling, it's an industry that was known to be a vice. And so in order to prevent corruption and criminal activity from occurring, they put a number of regulations on it. So the regulations are there to protect the public against the old school ways of operating in this. And every session they roll back around, they try to deregulate. So expansion is measured not just by license and boats, but time, how often they can operate, place, where they can operate, and manner, under what restrictions. And on time, place, and manner, they're trying to move the line every single session.
Access. I think access to
there's no doubt. There's no doubt.
But that's
so the 30-year extension is a huge expansion.
Oh, it's a gigantic expansion. That's why when I saw that, I said, Gene Mills, you can't have it both ways. I didn't say nothing on there. Yeah. I just told Brian, I said, I don't understand what Gene is saying. This is not expansion.
The legislature,
but the way they wrote it in the paper, I thought they made it sound like, Harris is fine. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah. But the way it was presented to the legislature, and I think the House has been surprised about what's been revealed now since we started digging down. But in the beginning, nobody was even curious. And that was the thing that really surprised me. Aren't you curious? Look, the legislature's got a fiduciary responsibility to assess a value to this. And Moon, you're like me. I don't care if Harris exists. I'd rather it go out of business. I think that facility would make a great church one day.
Yeah.
I didn't want to propose the solution, but I had to challenge the legislature. Look, you're the regulatory body. You're the fiduciary agent for the state. Aren't you curious what this contract is worth?
But Gene, when they passed it, I think it got through the House. Then we hear the big bombshell.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm taking it the bombshell was, I know Caesars was apparently going to buy it or buy it after or whatever. And Caesars had filed bankruptcy. Nobody knew some of the dealings that were going on behind the scenes. At least legislators said they didn't know.
Yeah, I think it's probably true because some of them wish they could pull that vote back.
Well, I know that, but the vote was already done
That's
in the
right.
House.
That's right.
So what's the stall now? Do you think I'm just going to ask you blunt. Do you think they passed this?
It's very questionable because two members of that committee are also consultants for Harris, or at least the law firm that represents Harris. And that has also been a second bomb that's come out. You've gotten some high-profile opposition. I talked to the governor about this early on, and I said, Governor, you're talking about budget shortfalls, but you're about to leave $250 to $500 million on the table. Aren't you curious of what this contract really costs? Oh, no, we vetted this. They had serious consideration given to early on in this process on whether or not this expands, and that was the test.
Well, they didn't vet it too well.
No, they didn't.
And I don't think they vetted it at all. That's just my opinion, not yours.
Well, they certainly didn't do it publicly, and that was the case that I made, is that this was not done in full view of the public.
But it involves public. I mean, while we pass in legislation, it doesn't involve the public. It does involve the public.
Agreed. And that's the case. That's what's gotten traction recently. And now this real estate entrepreneur from New Orleans has invested money. Other interests have come out and said, wait a second. We know of at least 3 or 4 others that might be interested in that license. And again, I don't want to be the one that brokers the deal that says this is its real value. Here's how you keep it into perpetuity. But I think the legislature's got a responsibility to the people of Louisiana to put it in the best possible place they can.
What happens if nothing happens?
Today, I have a feeling nothing happens.
No, but I'm just saying, what happens if when the session's over, nothing happens?
Well, I mean, they got 5 or 6 more years on their existing lease.
I wanted you to say that because
there's no hurry. By the way, I contacted Senator Kennedy and told him that. He was out of the country at the time. I said, man, we certainly could use somebody that's got some harsh sense that could speak in a way that this legislature could understand. This might be an opportunity for you. And to his credit, he studied the issue. He waited until the right time, and he weighed in. And it was a very strong.
But the reason I asked the questions, I knew there was time on the contract, and I wanted you to say it because there is no rush to do this today. And I think it's odd that now that it's in trouble, it went from just basically passing to in trouble.
Yeah.
Now we got 21 lobbyists. They've hired 21 lobbyists. Now, I'm going to tell you what lobbyists do. Not all of them, but some lobbyists get out there and they get as many people as they can. They find what they need so they get their bill passed through.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Y'all got to lobby. Everybody lobbies. But, when you're dealing with gambling, you're dealing with a lot of money and you're dealing with a lot of things.
Oh, these are 6-figure contracts, too, and with bonuses that may equal that. So there's a great deal of influence right now, and there's a lot of conversations that are taking place. If they have a handful of votes they got to move, they have a way of concentrating that lobby to go after those handful of votes. And they can put pressure on the lawmaker.
Oh, it's no doubt about it. That's why they're hiring lobbyists to win.
Now
they're not hiring lobbyists to lose, Gene.
Right.
As you know, they're hiring lobbyists and big money to win.
And they got big money.
And all they got to do is find out what your weakness is.
It's been the small voices that have risen up against
I know, but they find out what your weakness is. And when they find that weakness, and the weakness could be a lot of things.
Well, let me tell you what their weakness is. John Alario hasn't signed on to any of this. And he could conceivably show up at committee today.
It's no doubt. And look, as much as I'm not a fan of him at all, he is a power broker.
He is.
He is the power player.
Yeah.
I also saw today that another power broker, not like Alario, but in that area, Morrell, J.P. Morrell, I think I'm saying his name right. Senator Morrell has now come out against it.
He did. He made a very impassioned appeal. He put it out days early. He said he was sitting and having breakfast with his wife on Mother's Day, and he wanted to be clear because he wanted everybody to know where he stood. Now, we're not quite sure why he feels so impassioned about that.
When you're dealing with that group in Alarium, it's no telling. Because John has admitted he likes to do stuff privately. He likes to cut his deals privately. I worry about those type people though, because they can switch on you as well.
Well, JP was one of the attorneys that was hired by the firm that represents Harris, and so some were wondering if there's a conflict of interest there, and that also has broken. And JP, in an effort to maintain neutrality, may be making it clear, I will not be bought.
You notice, though, and I'm going to say this, and you can shoot this down or agree. You notice every time we deal with gambling since we first started with this, by the way, our Constitution says we ought to do what? Constitution says we ought to not have gambling
at all. No gambling at all.
Suppress it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Of course, it's gaming now, Jane.
That's
we're talking about
That's
something maybe over people's head. But the amazing thing about it is that every time we've dealt with gambling, it's always money, it's always deals, it's always something shady, it's always something we don't know about. I'm not talking about the Mine Pot Casino right down the road. Yeah. I'm talking about the big boys. Every time you deal with these guys, there's something not on top where we can see everything. That's what bothers me dealing with gambling.
Well,
it's never honest. It's never upfront. It's always something else, something else, something else.
I don't disagree. Now, to their credit, they haven't, because they are a publicly traded company and a number of things, the history of gambling in Louisiana and its recent history have been somewhat different. But they are very influential. They do have a great deal of money to spend, And they have a way of connecting dots that the public can't see. Well, now we're beginning to see the dots that have been connected.
I believe it's always been like that. I think even when they first passed it, and you say it's different now than it was back then, I think it's all been the same. I think as dots are connected more and more, it will come to the top, and we will see even more of this. I do. I just listen. People can gamble. I do not care. We got gambling. People enjoying themselves. That's fine. I'm just saying it's not the way I would want to set my economy up to be based on this, because we don't know what goes behind the scenes.
And I think that's prudent. Not to mention the fact that you got a number of problem gamblers today, and for every problem gambler, and this is the Family Forum's perspective, there's usually 5 or 6 family members that are employees that are directly impacted by that problem gambler. And that's across the gambit. That's true with video poker. That's true with the tracks. That's true with the boats. You could
probably tell stories, and we got to take a break. I remember a guy that had a media buying group in Monroe, very successful. When gambling came in, he lost it all. I want to say he committed suicide, but he lost everything. He was one of the big shots in town, and all of a sudden, all this gambling took away everything. And it was a shame to even watch that.
That's anyway,
Gene Mills, when we get back, we got some more gambling. Riverboat expansion, is that really expanding? Somebody else told me that sports betting and all that stuff. We're visiting with Gene Mills, of course, Louisiana Family Forum. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. We'll be right back. Hi, hello. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has that hotline if you'd like to be part of the program. Mr. Gene Mills, who heads up Louisiana Family Forum, is a special guest. Gene's been on there probably since I started the program. How long have you been with Family Forum now?
20 years this year.
Since its inception. I've been on 25 years this August.
Happy birthday.
So pretty much. That's Wednesday. My birthday is Wednesday.
Brandon's you don't look a day over 55.
Well, considering I'm going to be 57. My wife told me that too. I tried to convince Maddie. You know, I got a beautiful little special needs daughter. I said, Maddie, how old is Daddy? She looked at me and said, 47. She looked at her mom and said, no, 57. I said, whose side you taking? Never mind, I lose that battle every time. Gene Mills, my special. All right, Gene. The other one that I heard with an expansion of gambling was riverboats. We got 15 riverboats. I think Ed was with the jail for that, at least part of that. That all is going to go on land, but I was told again, not expansion of gambling.
Well, it's not an additional license for gambling or an additional boat, but it is, when we talked about time, place, and manner, the place is now no longer on the water. It's not limited to 30,000 square feet, which, by the way, on the water would cost probably $500 to $700 a square foot to expand. But on land, it costs a tenth of that. So the purpose behind moving on land is that expansion is much more affordable. So I testified in the committee. I was the only one that testified against this bill. And Johns and the rest of the crew said, man, this is not expansion. He joked. He said, man.
By the way, you notice every time they talk about it to the press, they say, well, this is not an expansion of gambling. Why?
Because it's expanding gambling.
I'm just asking you. Why do they always say it's not expansion? Not expansion. This is not expansion.
Well, we went back and studied it, and right now the 1,200-foot rule is not limited to where the boats are located now. It's limited to the berth. Berth is a legal term. That's the place at which the boat is located on its waterway in the parish. So the Belle of Baton Rouge could locate on any piece of property up and down the Mississippi River corridor in East Baton Rouge Parish. And it could become a land-based casino, which creates a number of other complications. It's no longer a 30,000 square foot operation. It could become a much larger operation and arguably compete with Harrah's. And that's the case that we made. You create land-based casinos. Well, you're incentivizing the expansion.
Didn't they say we could have one?
That's right.
Now we're going to have 16.
Well, until you start including the truck stops that want to quit selling fuel cells, you got hundreds of them across the state. But that's the argument we make every year.
Yeah, but going back to the riverboats, you were mentioning something about Ronnie Johns. You was getting ready to tell me something about Ronnie Johns.
Ronnie kind of joked and said, man, Mills and I are good friends. He gave me a nice award last legislative session. I get his Christmas card every year. I hope I stay on the Christmas card list. Well, Senator Johns is going to be on the Christmas card list, but he's also going to be on the naughty list. And it needs to be clear because he's not telling the truth. This will incentivize the next wave of expansion.
He is convinced his bill is not expansion of gambling, but like I said, all of them are. Harrah's is the expansion of gambling. I saw, and I'm friends with Taylor Barra. I like him a lot. And he says not expansion of gambling. I just say, Taylor, come on now.
It all depends on how you define is.
Yeah.
And it comes down to that.
Bill Clinton when we need him?
Language means everything, and look, you can fool the people some of the time. You can fool all the people some of the time. But it's very difficult now where we actually are breaking through some of the initial veneer, and we're discussing, well, what does that look like? Where does it occur? Under what circumstances?
You know, when they say it's not expansion of gambling, you know what it sounds like when I get people on here, they run for office the first time they go, I'm not a politician. I'm not just the definition of politician is you're running for office.
Yeah.
You are now a politician. Now, if you say I'm not a career politician, well, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But they all say, well, I'm not a politician. Well, yes, you are. You're running for office.
It's a very difficult place to be right now.
By the way, I always say the Moon Griffon show, I'll let you make a judgment on this, Brandon. I love this. I always say I'm the most nonpartisan, non-political show on the air today.
I don't disagree with that. I'm a political agnostic. But I do believe in the planks and the principles and the platform because we fight to put some of them there. And some things are worth fighting for. But when it comes to, there's an agnosticism when it comes to the donkey or the elephant. But, personally, me, for a Christian, I believe in the Lion of the tribe of Judah and the Lamb of God. And we celebrated him here recently. We celebrated moms this past weekend. And we're going to continue to attempt to be a voice for traditional families in the state of Louisiana. And if somebody wears an independent label or a Democrat label or a Republican label, that doesn't really matter if they do the right thing. And
I've always said it. I'm independent now because I just felt like Republicans would say something. We get them all elected to own everything, including Jindal and the rest of them, and then they don't do what they're supposed to do.
By the way, that's
the fastest. I got very frustrated.
That's the fastest growing party in the United States today is the Independent Party.
Well, what you're doing, for me, I couldn't stand the hypocrisy. I'm never going to be a Democrat because you talk about hypocrisy and ignorance. It's just ate up with ignorance. I can't do it. But the Republicans should know better, and that frustrates me. But I do agree with you. The party doesn't bother me as much anymore. It does nationally because I think nationally you're a Democrat or Republican.
I agree.
And it's you either or. There's really no in between in the national deal. Here in the state, you watch Republicans go to the left all the time.
One of the things you'll find on this bill we're talking about, Ronnie Johns' Riverboat bill, is that it's got bipartisan support. So it doesn't really matter what party you are inside that issue either. You either think this is good.
Where's that bill right now?
It's on the House floor Tuesday. And the question is, do they have the votes, 53 votes, to pass it? I'm not confident they do. But they got a substantial number of votes. And right now the question is, what can they do to incentivize that last few number to weigh in?
Well, I tell people all the time, you're giving us your resume for re-election next year.
Yeah.
Because this is an expansion of gambling. Gene Mills do want to come talk a little bit about fantasy sports betting, which everybody says if we don't get on board, everybody else is having all the fun, making all the money, and marijuana.
Very good.
By the way, not on your list, but I'm going to talk about that as well. Take a break. Be right back. Marijuana. Now, I don't want to get into medical use. Because I would have to go to doctors and say, okay, tell me why this is good and bad. And I think they pretty much decided that medical marijuana is going to probably be here to stay and does help people.
It does.
Now, I don't know how that works, and that's not what I'm at. But I do see the recreation marijuana as being something. And the way they're selling that is we need revenue for the state, and all these other places are getting revenue for the areas and revenue for the state. And that's the one I'm really concerned about. Because, people like sex. So should we legalize prostitution? Because it encourage prostitution.
They did in Nevada.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Should we legalize that, encourage
That's why when you make a pragmatic argument, you're going to get pragmatic solutions. When you make a principled argument, you get principled solutions. I think you make a good distinction. Medical marijuana is cannabis oil. It has the high effect is not involved in it. It's under a doctor's prescription. And in Louisiana, I think
people didn't know that, what you just said.
Yeah, you can't get high on oil.
All we think is marijuana.
It's not marijuana. It's cannabis oil. And it treats certain diabetic conditions, certain multiple sclerosis conditions.
Seizures. My daughter deals with seizures.
Yeah.
We dealt with one this morning. It's.
I think they're going to find, in Israel, they're doing a number of studies that are starting to find some promising results. The problem is they're not controlled or underwritten in America, in part because of the federal restrictions that keep it as a grade 1 or type 1 drug. On the recreational use, Moon, in all honesty, it's the independent party that's driving that all over the country. You have some progressives that agree with us on a few conservative issues, but when it gets to matters of morality or these issues that touch families and young people, they don't know where to draw the line.
I think when you say independent, you're talking about libertarian.
Well,
libertarian doesn't want to touch any of that.
They want no government.
Yeah.
They are their own government.
Have that.
You can't. That's anarchy, and if we're not careful, we'll bump into that. And we do bump into certain bills every session. There was a bill this year for recreational use. It's not going anywhere in this legislative session, and our governor wouldn't sign it. It would be the death knell on any political career to do that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's just interesting to see where this goes because as I read the arguments for marijuana, the argument mostly is for
finances,
revenue.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, and that's why I mentioned prostitution. I mean, you could talk about, well, why not legalize cocaine? People like to do that. Let's make the money off of it. That's not a principled argument, but that's their argument. We got money.
Yeah.
Money's the argument.
When you look at the revenue that Louisiana's generating and expending, Louisiana Department of Hospitals, DHH, according to Cameron Henry on WJBO radio that I listened to on the way over here this morning, expends $50 million a day. There's not a revenue problem. They're expending resources.
No. When I look at the hospitals, I know they came over here and did a dog and pony show the other day with Jay Darden and the governor, and I happened to be off. And then Friday, our show went in the directions I never believed they could go into. We had the dog bounty hunter, and Beth was on here for an hour, and then I don't know. Brandon looked up, and he loves Fridays because I do open forum Friday where people call and talk about they won't, but we usually got all our guests on Fridays for some reason. Anyway, I didn't get a chance to talk about that, but they came and did the dog and pony show and all these eviction notices and all that. And I'm just laughing at all that because eventually it's not going to happen. But that department is taking our growth unbelievably. No question about that's where our money's going.
And Moon, there's no doubt if you study the politics of that there are influences and deals that are happening at a policy level behind the scenes. And you know as well as I do, when you're taking care of an elderly parent, you almost have to do it in an assisted living or in a nursing home environment or in some type of facility that is run by an association because we don't incentivize doing it at home where the patients really want to be and where a lot of the families want them to be.
But we don't. In other words, what you're telling me, Gene, and I'm following that too, is we don't do the common sense thing. This would be the easiest thing to do
because there ain't no money to be made in that.
That's what government wants. That money. The Medicaid expansion is crushing us. I want to listen. I'm just like you, and anybody else. If we've got poor people who can't do for themselves, I want a place they can go.
That's right.
Who wouldn't want that?
That's right.
But Jeff Landry did a great piece, and I got it here to share with the audience today. And the fraud and the people that can go to work.
There's too much money. Too much money in it. It is.
And too much money in government from the federal down has become our problem. Instead of just doing the things we need to do, roads and things like that. I'm all for helping somebody that cannot help themselves. Who's against that?
Nobody.
But that's not what they do.
No, it isn't.
And it's so frustrating to watch how much money's going in that department and the results we're getting for the money.
Well, that's the reason you need to stay the big voice and continue to discuss the issues and making sure that people know what the bottom line is because it makes a difference and they listen to you, man.
Well, we
applaud you for that.
I just think we need to have a little bit of common sense, a little money sense. You can't. They wrote an article today. I don't know if it was out of Baton Rouge. It might have been Stephanie Grace. They said Republicans. Oh, it was an editorial either yesterday or today, and it talked about how Republicans keep doing the same thing and expecting a different answer. And I'm going, no, that's not what's happening. They're trying to do something different. Y'all won't let them.
Yeah.
You realize we went with the Senate budget over the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably go with the Senate budget again.
I think it went beyond that.
Well,
the first thing they do when they send the budget is strip it of all the House amendments and start over.
But you know
that I've been doing that for 30 years. I've been watching that.
But you know what they do, Gene? They blame the House Republicans.
I know.
And I'm going, whoa. They don't ever get their budget. And it was a more even under Jindal, they had a more conservative budget.
Here's the difference, though. They got an independent House now.
Yeah.
As of yesterday, it may look like they got a little more independent Senate.
Well, still curious about that. Anytime Hilario's involved in it, I get a little nervous.
Fair enough.
I do. All right, let's take our last break. Gene Mills, Louisiana Family Forum, Jerusalem Embassy. It is a big deal. The craziness has started on that as well. James, the Louisiana Family Forum. We'll talk about that when we get back. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. Hi, hello. Welcome back, Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hollering. All right, we made a mistake, and it was the way it was sent and read. The Supreme Court strikes down federal sports betting ban, paving the way for New Jersey and other states. It says will allow more states to legalize sports betting. According to the ruling Monday, which is today for a few people in Balkanville, breaks up the Nevada monopoly on the practice. All right, so that's the opposite of what we thought.
That's correct. On a 7-2 vote, they basically said that the Amateur Sports Betting Protection Act violates the Constitution. Congress can act on it, but this panel cannot. So what the question is, will Congress rush in to weigh in on this issue? And we'll have to wait and see on that. But every legislature, including our own, are now going to make a run for the boats and for the racetracks and to get positioned so that they can capitalize on now what they believe is a new form of sports betting.
So the gamblers and people that really wanted this, they're happy today.
They should be. They got a big victory at the court.
And they got it at the Supreme Court. I mean, they're not. It's not like they're going to run this all the way back up to the Supreme Court the next week.
It'll require the Congress to act to limit this.
Will they?
Well, the court said it's up to Congress to do that. If they don't, then when the law is silent, you got liberty. Law does not grant liberty; it limits liberty. It just tells you where the liberty is limited. So right now, the Congress is silent on this. I think they should, and I think under a Trump administration, it's a good question. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it just happened today. I mean, it just happened a few minutes ago. So
I did. If I had to bet on this, I never would have bet this was the outcome that would have come down.
It's 7-2. It's pretty convincing. It wasn't like it was a 5-4 vote. It was 7-2.
Agreed.
And then we don't know who voted. Well, let me see something real quick. I will check it, Gene, but I don't know if I'll have the vote. No, they don't have it on this particular article. I thought maybe they had who voted for it, who voted against it, and we would know, but I don't have that in front of me. Interesting. So sports betting will roll on. Jerusalem embassy.
Big deal.
But a lot of the presidents of the United States said they would do this. None of them had the guts to do it, including Barack Obama. Yeah. Obama said he wanted to do this, but he never had the guts to do it. Trump did it.
He's doing it on the 70th anniversary of the rebirth of Jerusalem and Israel, and this is a big deal. There are a number of evangelicals that are there right now. The nation of Israel is celebrating. Iran is up in arms. They've already lobbed a bunch of missiles across the border, but they found out for every one they lobbed, they got responded to with 10, and it's an unfair fight.
Oh, no. They tried to start something, and you don't mess with Israel. They know how to fight.
I was on the border out there. We were supposed to go to the Gaza Strip, and they deployed the Iron Dome. Man, it was so impressive. I called home and told our governor at the time, man, we need to get one of these. He kind of laughed. He said, well, why you want an Iron Dome? I said, I don't know, man. Texas is seeming pretty hostile here lately.
Well, it's interesting to see what happens. I know Netanyahu is pumped up about Donald Trump.
We haven't,
and I guess Israel in general is pumped up about what Trump is
doing. They are. We haven't had a muscular president like this since Ronald Reagan.
Oh, Reagan, they've been weak since.
Reagan expressed an opinion, and it was resonated throughout the world. Trump's taken a similar role.
Oh, no doubt about it.
He doesn't do it as pretty as Reagan did, but he does it.
Well, he doesn't. But if you had the press 95% of the times when they did an article, they're going to do something negative. And I was going to get you an opinion on that. I mean, can you believe how I thought they were ugly to George Bush, W. I didn't think W was a great president, but I thought they were just overboard. That wasn't even close. That was child's play compared to what they're doing to this man.
Yeah.
And I wonder why they really don't want him to be president of the United States. I mean, this is ruthless. And by the way, if Mike Pence was the president tomorrow, they would crank up on him just as bad.
They would. Trump has delivered on everything he's promised. I think for the media, he's taken on the Democrat cartel. He's taken on the Republican cartel. He's taken on the media. He's taken on the Clintons. And I think he's going after academia. And I think he's taking it across the world. And I don't see a stop because he has nothing to lose. He doesn't feel like he's got anything to lose.
Well, but they're not going to stop. I don't think, and you may have a more insight on this, I don't think Democrats are going to take over the House.
They're not.
I'm not even convinced Democrats will win a lot more seats than what they have now.
They're not either. They're not convinced of that at this point either because his approvals are right at the 50% mark.
But just think, they're at 50, and all you hear is negative about Donald Trump.
Yeah, but that's only the media. That's a small corner. That's the amen corner that's doing everything they can to remove Trump from the beginning. They were never secretive about that. And that's true across ABC, NBC, CBS. Even Fox has taken a negative connotation. Fox has not pulled punches on Trump. And CNN does only anti-Trump. MSNBC, I think those are the leading causes of depression in America today.
Absolutely.
You need to turn that down and listen to some more practical counsel.
Yeah.
But Trump is moving the ball, and it's undeniable. Moon, I mentioned that he was at 50% on his favorables. When you ask the general public across the board, anywhere USA, any party, any denominational affiliation, any party affiliation, what about the fact that he's not an insider, he's an outsider, he's a disruptor? His approvals go up to 67%.
Because everybody knows Washington is a problem.
They know it's broken.
To be immoral. They don't spend the money right.
They know it's broken.
Yeah, they know something's wrong, and that's why he won.
Agreed.
I mean, he won because he was not part of that.
You can't stop that.
And by the way, I found out more about Trump that I didn't want to know because he's not the perfect man. Wouldn't you like for them to just take Obama and say, we're going to go back and look at his history and everything he's done in his life and everybody he was associated with, and we did that. Let's take Nancy Pelosi. Let's take Chuck Schumer. Let's take the Clintons and really go look at they check every part of your life. They couldn't handle what Trump said.
No,
there's no way.
Look, there's no doubt Republicans are held to a different standard, and we ought to rise to that standard. We ought to be able to stand there in honor and respond in principle. And frankly, I think we need to continue to do that. You do that. I think we have to do that at the Family Forum, and we'll continue to be that voice of reason.
Let's jump gears again. One other thing in the legislature, I know you've been following this criminal justice issue dealing with unanimous jury and things of that nature. Where are y'all on this particular issue? What should be done?
We weighed in. It's going to be on the floor later today. Sherman Mack, a very principled legislator and attorney and strong conservative voice in the House. Eddie Tarpley, a good friend of mine who's a former DA in Pineville, Louisiana, joined forces with a number of others, and J.P. Morrell is moving a bill that says the idea of a 10-2 verdict, if it's your son or mine, is just not comfortable enough. It needs to be unanimity. It needs to be the state needs to remove every shadow of doubt. Now, to my DA friends, initially they were opposed to this, but they stood down. And they stood down because they realized, number one, it's a principled argument. Number two, the state ought to be able to make its case. And number three, the DAs ought to bring a charge that they know they can convict on and field the jury that they know is responsible enough to give an opinion, which means, Moon, next time you're subpoenaed to serve on a jury, you probably need to serve. You don't need to send in the excuse and say, I'll not be there.
Oh, no,
because the DA's got a real problem fielding juries.
The only time I ever was called in for to be on a jury, I spent 2 days. There was a bunch of people there. And the second day they called and said, we don't need you anymore. So apparently they had settled the case.
Yeah.
Apparently they had settled the case. And I didn't even know what the case was about. They hadn't got to me yet.
Yeah.
But I was going to just do my time. I wasn't going to say a word.
And I think we need to do that because the DAs are looking to field the jury.
So most states have a 12-0.
All states do except Louisiana. And there's one other state. It's Ohio. I believe it's Ohio.
Yeah, but
the other
state also said they're looking at this too.
Well,
they're looking to see what happened in Louisiana with this.
I think you're going to go to unanimity today. It'll be a test vote. It's got to get 70 votes on the House floor, which is almost impossible. But the forces are aligned that if the members are there, I believe they're going to get to the line.
Wow. That is today.
It is today.
What time is that bill being heard?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. Are you headed back over there?
I am.
I figured you'd have to head back over there. All right. Gene, anything else you want to add?
I think we covered it, Moon. I appreciate all the forces that the Moon Griffon show brings to the state of Louisiana and providing a clear voice.
All right, Mr. Gene, I appreciate it. We'll do it again sometime soon. It's the first time I think you've been in studio and spent a whole hour with me. Well, I might be wrong, but I think it is.
Hey, look, since my old mama used to tell me she's Smopaloosa. Now, shout them people up north, they're not bad, no. They just hungry. And I said, well, Mama, where's north? She said, anywhere north of Ville Platte.
Well, that is north.
Well, you had to move down.
When you take I-10 and go up, you're north.
Well, now that you're home, man, I'm going to come see you some more.
Well, it is. It's been a blessing to be here, I promise you. And it is close to home, so it's good. All right, Gene Mills Family Forum, you got a website?
lafamilyforum.org, and I would encourage you to get on there and find out what we're doing.
All right, got to go. We'll be right back. More to come on the Moon Griffon Show, including the debacle last week of this. Brandon covered it, too. You can talk about it more than me.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, for the showtime.
Yep.
Okay, we'll take a break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. Hi, hello. Welcome, Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline if you'd like to be part of the Moon Griffon Show. Opportunity for you to be a voice. Now, I want to go back to last Thursday at the pep rally. The Bell Edwards J. Dorton pep rally at the hospital. And everybody was going to be evicted, and the schools, the hospital's going to close, and nobody's going to have a job, and on and on and on and on. Pep rally, clapping for the governor, high-fiving him. And folks said, none of that stuff's going to happen. That department has got the biggest growth in the state of Louisiana. Nobody wants to deal with it. Absolutely nobody wants to deal with it. So in the media, constantly lifts Bell Edwards up every chance they get. They don't care about the truth. They don't care that we're spending more money than any department, billions of dollars more. They just don't care. They don't care about the truth. But then on Friday, Senate saves nursing home residents. Senators restored funding for nursing home residents dealing with the budget and the first pass of next year's budget, but cut other government agencies. Put the point where they couldn't function. There's so much gamemanship going on, but that's funded now. The Senate took the budget and funded it 100%. But yet we had to go through a pep rally, and that's sent all over the state. Jay Darden and Bel Air was the failed governorship. And what are they talking about? Taxes, taxes, taxes. You know, he doesn't focus on any leadership aspects whatsoever. Bel Air and Jay Darden, they just want more money. They're playing the same games that are always played here. And I don't know why people keep falling for it. By the way, the budget is $495 million short, not $648. Eric LaFleur, it's important to demonstrate to the public we don't have sufficient revenue. We can't fix the problem until we have a special session. They have sufficient revenue. They've had sufficient revenue. They don't want to spend it in the right places. Ronnie Casino Johns. Hopefully this will send a message that we have to raise some revenue. Republican. We all know that this isn't sustainable. But they fix nothing. You know, it's just over and over again, the crying, the whining, the let's use our poor people, let's use people who can't help themselves. Yeah, let's use young people. Let's just continue to put that out there. You know, one of the things they cut, they restored all the nursing homes, or the hospitals or whatever. You know, one of the things they cut, they decided to cut some food stamps. Oh, my God. Food stamps? Well, why shouldn't they be cut? If you got to cut government entities and you can cut them, you got to cut them. Jeff Landry, governor's senior scare tactics cover up welfare abuse. Landry had a great piece. Chicken Little made famous the phrase, the sky's falling, but Governor Bill Edwards has made the battle cry in the race to the bottom. We need not look at any future than the latest political stunt. And he talked about the stunt with the Department of Health and Hospitals. Sent out notifications to 37,000 Medicaid enrollees to inform the folks that the state may no longer be able to cover the cost of senior care facilities. Landry says no one really believes it. All you got to do is look at when he said no LSU football, no top funding. While the focus in the mainstream media is on the number 40,000, the real focus should be on the number 83,000. That is the amount of people in Louisiana receiving Medicaid welfare whose tax returns do not come close to living with their Medicaid applications. That's right. The legislative audit to testify that 83,000 welfare recipients showed $20,000 or more in annual income on their tax returns than they listed on their Medicaid applications. Brandon, you get that? 83,000 people on their tax returns made over $20,000, but that didn't appear on their Medicaid application. Folks, there's your abuse. Landry's right, but not to the old great Jay Darden and the John Bellico governorship. Landry hit it on the head. Landry says this is not surprising. It is further evidence of a massive amount of fraud in our taxpayer-funded Medicaid system. I told y'all what Medicaid was about. They don't want to deal with the number of people that don't need to be on Medicaid, that are able-bodied workers. The 83,000 individuals are costing the Medicaid program roughly $500 a month per person, or $498 million annually. Clearly, this is not a drop in the bucket for a state in such a supposed dire fiscal mess. 83,000 individuals, $500 a day, $489 million. And the governor keeps playing games with senior citizens, keep playing games with Medicaid recipients. Why is that, folks? Why does he get away with it? Because the media pushes him on every single thing they can. They only talk about the dire consequences. They don't talk about what can be done about it. For decades, Louisiana politicians have used demagoguery to keep their hands in our pocketbooks. This week, Governor Bill Edwards demonstrated just more of the same. It is no wonder Louisiana just posted the worst economic performance in the country. And that goes on top of our GDP for the last 2 years have been negative. You cannot continue to support an overblown, overspending state government. And nobody wants to deal with it. We're going to pay the consequences with the election we made voting for Bill Edwards and Jay Darden. Jay Darden was rejected. Jay Darden was totally rejected. 85% of the people said, we don't want you by the governorship. Yet he cut a deal, knifed Vitter in the back, got his $237,500 a month, year salary, which would boast his retirement somewhere between $14,000 and $18,000 a month for the rest of his life. And we're supposed to take him because the press has covered that up too. And the press is covering up Bill Edwards, and every mistake he's making, they're giving him a ride on it. And what are they doing? Well, read the papers. They are pounding the House Republicans, including Taylor Barra. Stephanie Grace, House Republicans can condemn Edwards' scare tactics, but they put him in this position. How did they put him in this position? Because they won't give him more tax dollars. And this is every day I'm reading this. Every day. And then, Brandon, as you know, we always hear, well, he inherited a $2 billion budget. He inherited about an $800 million budget that grew to $2 billion because the press decided to run with a number they made up. They made it up. It was never $2 billion. Number two is Bill Edwards voted for 6 of 8 of Bobby Jindal's budgets. That's not inheriting. You voted for it. It's just a panic attempt to panic people. That they're using, think about this, the most vulnerable people in our state. Bill Edwards and Jay Darden are using them like a bunch of dirty mop bucket. Just over and over and over again. And in the meantime, while they're protecting the co-governorship, a governorship that he backed into, and then Jay Darden helped him back into it. They pounding Republicans. Now, look, I pound them too when they need it. But in this case, they don't need it. And they don't stop. It's every chance they get. They pound the Republicans in the House. It's always pounding the Republicans in the House. Yet, we voted for the Senate's budget now going on 10 years. I had another piece right here, Brandon, too. I had it right here on that article when they did the pep rally for Edwards. Edwards on Thursday reiterated previous statement that he would not sign a budget that covers the deficit strictly with cuts and said he's calling for a full funding of the hospital. At the same time, Edwards was not committed to vetoing any budget that did not include such funding. Eric LaFleur, when asked what the priorities are, he said the Senate budget would include at least some funding for hospitals. It won't have anything to do with the House. We know that no one in the state would accept the House version of a real budget. Edwards says what we know is the legislature is incapable of doing what we're supposed to do. The legislature is incapable. Why? Because he was in the legislature for 8 years and he voted wrong on 6 of 8 budgets? What is Edwards capable of doing? Besides raising taxes, what the heck is Edwards doing as governor? What is he doing to fix anything besides raising taxes? Name it. Nothing. Edwards says it created the cliff on purpose. The House created it on purpose with the pledge to fix the problem. Before we got off the cliff, it hasn't happened. In other words, he's saying they voted for these taxes, created this cliff. Voting for the taxes, I thought, fixed the cliff. You cannot fix a spending problem by raising taxes and spending more. Cannot happen, will not happen. Somebody must explain it to the governor and the people. He's wrong. He's wrong in what he's trying to do. The co-governorship is a failure. It's a 100% total failure. Blaming the House Republicans for this mess is silly when it's the Senate budget that we passed the last 10 years in a row. It's been the House that has tried to do something about it. You know, they go after Taylor Barra all the time. Taylor Barra seems immune to their plight, talking about these people losing all this stuff. You know, Taylor Barra, listen to this. Mr. Barra, an accountant and banker, I'm crying, this is good. That means he's educated, he's doing his job. Is getting his per diem. He's not at risk of a life-altering loss of services. He apparently fine with letting Louisiana residents fret about what the legislature might do to upend their lives. He got plenty of company in a Republican-dominated House. This is what they're writing. This is what they're telling people. And they either don't care or don't realize how bad they look. And it's just one pounding after another from the press. It's just sick. Anyway, we got to take a break. Take some phone calls in a minute. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline if you'd like to be part of the program. Your opportunity to be a voice is right now. We'll be right back. Hi, hello. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. By the way, Brandon, what John Alario did the other day was really shoot down what Jay Darden and the co-governor Bill Edwards has been doing. You know, it really shot him down the other day with the budget. I mean, even the Senate didn't go along with it. I'm telling you, it's lack of leadership. It's no leadership. I don't care how much the media tries to build him up. It ain't working. You're going to see next year when the election comes up. It's not working. By the way, somebody writes, Edwards blackmailing us. I'd like to know how much they spent out sending, much money they state spent sending out all those letters. I don't know, but the timing is, let's send them out now while we got a special session coming up. That's no doubt the timing is there for a reason. Let's go to the phone lines. We start off with Paul in Lake Charles. Paul, how you doing, sir?
Hey, Moon. Why do we have people like Jay Darden making over $200,000 a year? Can you tell me what we get from that guy?
No, we don't get anything from Jay Darden. Jay Darden hadn't fixed or done anything yet. But I tell you what Jay Darden did, honestly. Bell Edwards is paying. They upped to pay $33.5 from the original position when Bobby had administrator, and because he was able to knife Vitter in the back, tell Republicans to vote Republican and vote how bad of a person Vitter was, and people bought it, and he won. So he was awarded.
Why did they get to make that kind of money, though? I mean,
because the governor's got it approved for them to do that, and he spent it on that.
Our legislators don't make that kind of money every year, right? They're not
they're not getting any kind of money like that.
So that's my point.
Well,
I mean, why does an administration get? They're just raking it in. They're raking us over.
Well, it's better than that for Darden. Darden's retirement would be based off his best last 3 years. It's 237.5. He had made 115 as what was he, Brandon? A lieutenant governor. Then he went to 237.5. His retirement would be based off the 237.5. He went from maybe 7,000 to 8,000, 9,000 a month the rest of his life to now 14, 18, depending on who you believe.
Well, they have done one thing, Moon, and that is to make everybody in America know that for sure we are the most corrupt state in America.
Well, it's
our government.
I know, but let me tell you something, because we don't fight against it. The press, just like they do in Washington, D.C., okay, just like they do in Washington, D.C., has taken sides in this thing. They think they got Bel Air was elected. They're doing everything they possibly can to make sure he stays in office. Everything. They don't care. They don't care what the truth is. They could care less what the truth is.
He's Louisiana's Obama.
Well, but he is, and the press is the CNN of Washington. They're going to go with him. They love him, and they don't care what he does, and they're going to defend him. And that's what they're doing. I'm watching it happen every day.
Well, Moon, until they rein in the spending in every single department,
Yep.
in the state of Louisiana, and these NGOs, we're never going to get this lined out.
Listen,
I'm going to tell you something. The regular working person, they're stretched beyond what they can do now.
You can't tell them that. Bill Edwards really believes if we pay a lot more in taxes.
We're all going to be able to tell them that. You know how we're going to be able to tell them that? Because the spending that we can't do.
Well, the spending is the problem. They can have a constitutional convention all they want to. If you keep overspending, it'll blow that up too. And that's what my friends that want the constitutional convention don't understand. These people will blow that to pieces. Anyway, I got to go. Thanks for the call. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. We'll be right back. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline if you'd like to be part of the program. Yes, folks, as you read the articles about pounding House Republicans, it's not on them. It's the lack of leadership in the governor's office. I get tired of reading it over and over and over again. GOP leadership in the House seemingly would do anything to make Governor Edwards, a Democrat, look ineffective. My God, they don't have to do anything to make him look ineffective. He's ineffective. He's only begged for money after getting $2.8 billion in taxes. Wasn't enough. All right, let's go to Mike on the road. Mike, how you doing? Mike, good morning. Okay, Brandon, I don't hear him. Okay, I'm looking for Mike on the road. You think he's gone?
All right, this is Mr. Lionel, who has an interview with you.
Yeah, Lionel, what's going on, brother?
Hey, Moon.
How you doing today?
Good, man. How are you?
Oh, doing pretty good. All right, Lionel, you're reading all the craziness going on down in the legislature. and the thing about it is, it's so frustrating. They keep pounding on the House Republicans. The people in the press, this is like CNN Louisiana style, MSNBC Louisiana style. They pick their horse they want. They want Edwards to win. So Edwards does no wrong, and the House Republicans do no right. And it's every day.
And it's a new crisis every day. But now it's not just a Louisiana story. This has really become probably the biggest fake news story in America. John Bel Edwards went on a national TV tour last week. He did Good Morning America. He did CBS Nightly News. He did CBS Morning News, Huffington Post, New York Times, New York Post, saying that seniors were going to be kicked out on the street because the House passed a balanced budget 1/3 of the way through the process and sent it over to the Senate. Now, as soon as that happened, the second he did it, House Republicans came out and, specifically the delegation chair and Appropriations Chairman Cameron Henry, and said this is absolutely unnecessary. This is not required by law. The letter that you sent out is not an official letter. We are 1/3 of the way through the process. We don't know what the Senate is going to do yet. You're about to scare seniors half to death, sending out tens of thousands of fake eviction notices, but they did it anyway.
Yeah, they did it.
They did it anyway. And on Friday, exactly like the House Republicans said, in a Senate Finance Committee, this is really important to note, against the objection of Commissioner of Administration Jay Darden, they fully funded DHH. Louisiana Department.
So let me get it straight. Jay Darden, the co-governor, my call, not yours, the co-governor, after they said that we're going to fund everything, that he went all over these national programs and said the eviction notices, and we're not going to fund it anymore. Now, Jay Darden is against you giving him the money.
Yes, and you go back and watch the House Finance Committee and came up with a new, now all of a sudden, so that crisis is gone. And now the new crisis is everybody, they're going to have to hand out tens of thousands of pink slips. But let me go back to this. On Mother's Day weekend, you had not only, men in these nursing homes who were getting this letter, but you had mothers and grandmothers on Mother's Day weekend getting a fake eviction notice when it was completely mute. It wasn't real to begin with. So literally, this is probably the biggest fake news story in America right now. And what we're asking is the media who so aggressively covered this. It's so aggressively covered. The end of the world is here. It's not close. It's coming. It's now. We're kicking these people out on the street as aggressively as they covered that. they should aggressively cover, hey, it wasn't real. You're not getting kicked out. I know you're getting these letters and are probably scared half to death. It's not real. And by the way, we're still not even halfway through the budget process yet. The Senate is going to get the bill on the floor. Then it goes over to the House, and then they may go into a conference committee. And after that, they give it to the governor. And why this is important is because this is how you know where your gaps are. You know, the governor started the year at $1.5 billion. Republicans in the House held their ground and said no. And now the number is $495 million. So whatever revenue they have to come up with, and there's probably going to be some, they've already saved the taxpayers of Louisiana over $500 million in unnecessary taxes just by going through the process. But since day one, it's been a crisis. It's since he took office. Really, you know, you're not going to have LSU football next year.
What was bad about it is when they were running for governor, including Edwards, they were talking about $800 million. And I had Jim Vitter on the other day. He said, yeah, it was about $850. And then all of a sudden they got hold of the numbers. They accused Jindal of playing with bad numbers, and it went from $850 to $1.2 to $1.5 to $1.8 to $2 billion. And the press ran with it. I think that was a bogus number to begin with. But they were able to put that out there because nobody challenged them but us. They were never challenged by anybody in the press. And that's what I'm saying. The press is out there scaring people to death.
And I think this is a critical error on this administration. You know, you can only say the world is ending so many times, and if the world doesn't end, people are eventually going to start calling you on it. And I think people see that it's these types of moves and maneuvers that have put us in the situation where we're at right now with the slowest economic growth in America. We have people leaving this. We're losing population. Businesses are leaving the state. We have the highest combined sales tax bill in America. In 2019, we're going to hit 41% of our population on Medicaid, and we're suing our number one economic driver, which is oil and gas. And these are all policies that have come from this administration when the sky is always falling and more money is always the answer.
No, I think
it's becoming clear.
I think you just hit it on the head. All that stuff that you said is true. Last 2 years, we've had one of the only states where GDP was in negative growth. Negative. How do you raise all these taxes with negative growth? You don't raise taxes with negative growth.
Booming.
Yep.
The rest of the country is exploding.
Yeah, and we have out-migration you mentioned. People are leaving for jobs. They can twist any way they want to twist. I read Lanny Keller, who was a sycophant for Bill Edwards. I read one of his reports, and it was so funny. You can't go against Edwards when it comes to creating jobs. And I'm going, what planet is that dude on? I mean, he didn't get anything right on it.
King. You know, with another business just left this morning, and you know the thing is, this is not political. This is reality, and it's not sustainable. At some point, you know, we go over that critical mark, and that tipping point happens, and you've got the majority of your people who are dependent upon the government, and you have a government which is spending more money than it's taking in, and there's no direction for that to go. If you took our Medicaid expansion and the percentage of our population that's on Medicaid, and I'm not talking about the working poor, right? No. We're talking about able-bodied, work-capable people who have not been truthful when they're filing for their Medicaid applications, and they're saying that they make less money than they have. There's a bill. There's a bill to enforce that, and guess who killed it?
Who?
The administration. Yep. I mean, and so you can't do one. You cannot continue to do this and expect a different result. I think the big difference here in what's happening right now, especially with the general public, is that they are starting to see. They're seeing through the smoke. They're seeing through the spin, and it's just like the boy that cried wolf, right? You say it over and over and over and over again, and eventually people know you're not telling the truth. And there's going to be another crisis coming up. I mean, the next crisis of the day is going to be, well, this is going to lay out, this is going to shut the government down. Mm-hmm. Everything is going to, and we know that's not going to happen, just like we knew that you seniors weren't going to be kicked out on the street. That was never going to happen. It was a political move, 100%, and it was reckless at absolute best. And, you know, People are smarter than this administration are giving them credit for, and I believe that they see through this.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, Lonnie, I'll let you go. I appreciate the call, man. I think you made your point, made a very good point. You're not going to see that in the headlines of the Advocate or the Times-Picayune tomorrow or Gannett newspaper, I can promise you.
Have a good day, man.
All right, thanks for the call. All right.
So we have another press conference going on at one of our hospitals, this one happening at LHC in Lafayette. Attorney General Jeff Landry is there right now.
Oh.
As a matter of fact, we can listen live if you want to listen.
Well, just for a minute or two.
Wait for a minute, okay.
No,
you want to okay.
For a minute or two
here
because we're going to have to go to a break, but go ahead.
Okay, so here we go. So he is there right now addressing the opioid epidemic.
Happened, and that same day, the place we were at, we ran into Mallinckrodt Pharmaceuticals and a rep there. And unbeknownst, he wasn't a part of the conversation. He tells me, hey, look, we have started this program where we donate these disposable bags, right? Where we allow these bags allow a person to dispose of opioids instantaneously, right? You open them up, you put the drug in it, you pour the water, you seal them up, you throw them in the trash can. He said, we would like to donate 30,000 bags to the state of Louisiana. How could you use them? I said, guess what, you're in luck. Because where we are today, I introduced him to Keith, and then we recognized that we would have a legal impediment. Sometimes you have to get through some of the bureaucratic tape or some law in order to make something good happen. And so we went out and we talked to Senator Mills, and as the chairman of the Senate Health and Welfare Committee and a pharmacist, still a pharmacist today. I don't know. Some people say, well, I'm not a doctor anymore. They tell me I'm not a lawyer in the private sector anymore. But importantly, and I explained the process to Fred, and of course, through the work of the LHC lawyers and Fred, we were able to get this bill passed through the session this year. And so here's how it's going to work. So in the state of Louisiana now, any hospice organization is going to be able to, after putting in place some controls that are laid out in the new law, their nurses, Mallinckrodt Pharmaceuticals is going to make available to the state of Louisiana 30,000 of these bags. And just so you understand, we anticipate having about 25,000 hospice deaths this year, right? So we have enough bags to cover the number of patients that hospice as a whole in Louisiana should deal with. So we'll have 30,000 bags, and over the course of the next year, those hospice organizations are going to have an opportunity.
Jeff's not crying about how we need more money and how bad his bills are, the taxes are. He don't have everybody in the hospital rallying, clapping for the governor, for clapping for himself. Huh. Maybe he need to take some political points from Bell Edwards on how to get the media on your side. Cry and whine all the time. We'll be right back. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has that hotline. Don't forget, folks, if you want some speckled trout and redfish and you want to catch them with the best, one of the good guys in the business, Captain Norman, 337-884-0656, 337-884-0656, and that is his cell number, or you can go to aspeccharters.com. Captain Norman joins me because I said, call in, Captain, because Captain Norman sent me a picture of 30 of the beautiful speckled trout. Cap, how you doing?
Doing great this morning, Moon.
Well, when you showed me the picture and told me the story, you made me jealous, but I think you do that crap on purpose.
Oh, man. Well, this is the first day of it. We've been waiting patiently and long this year. This is the first day we've hit trout under the birds, and they were all good fish this morning. And will they be here tomorrow? You never know, but it looks like it's finally cleared up. The water's beautiful. And we got shrimp in the lake, and we got fish in the lake. So all they can do is give me a call and set it up. That's all we can do.
Yeah, you said they just moved in, you're just catching them. I know you're booking up, but people just need to give you a call because, you fish almost every day. I know you don't do a lot of Sundays, but still, you fish almost every day, and you fish a couple times a day when it's right.
Yeah, we've got days in June. We pretty well booked up for the rest of May. Got one day maybe here and there, but it's pretty well solid for the rest of May. But we got June, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, no doubt about it. A little late, a little bit. We actually had a decent winter. Then we just had some bad wind. I know it kept that thing muddy for a while. It must be pretty now. I mean, I know the wind hadn't been as bad, but the weather's beautiful right now, and it's gonna stay hot and beautiful
gorgeous.
for 10 days.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, and we hadn't got any wind that's messing it up today, and hopefully we won't get none of those 13 and 14-inch rains.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we don't want nothing to do with that for a while. We never want that.
I hear you. But if you give me a call at 337-884-0656, or look on your, I think on your website, you got me on there maybe.
Yep.
They can look me up there, but we can fix them up.
All right, Captain Norman. Good luck, man.
All right, thank you.
Need to put them pictures on. I may got some beautiful speckled trout. He told me today it was so slick, Brandon, they were throwing just plastic baits, he said, and he found, what did he say, 2 acres and nothing but trout moving, hitting the top of the water. So it's on. He's out of Hackberry and south of Sulphur. Ed Tarpley joins us. Ed, how you doing?
Hey, Moon, I'm doing great today. How you doing today?
Doing just fine, Ed. Now, I think the bill that, is that bill going to pass that you've been wanting to pass dealing with the, how many people it takes to convict people?
Let me tell you what. I'm in Baton Rouge this morning. In fact, I'm talking to you from the state capitol right now. Senate Bill 243 will be heard in the House this afternoon. The House convenes at 2 o'clock. So we expect it to be heard somewhere around 2:30 or 3, somewhere in that time frame. We feel very positive. We feel very optimistic. We've been getting a good response all around the state. There's been a lot of great editorials written. Talk radio calls around the state have been running heavily in favor. We're excited about it. It's a real bipartisan effort. Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, liberals. It's, we've seen a lot of different groups come together to support this. Americans for Prosperity, Louisiana Family Forum, Louisiana State Bar Association. We've had leaders in the Republican Party, leaders in the Democratic Party. So this has really crossed a lot of party lines in a lot of different groups. So we're excited about it, and we think we're going to pass it today.
Wow. So what time is it supposed to come up?
Well, I think sometime around 2:30 or 3, sometime in that time frame. So if there's any listeners out there that support Senate Bill 243 to restore unanimous criminal jury verdicts in Louisiana, they need to call their state representative. We're one of only 2 states in the union that has this. All 48 other states and all federal courts, everybody has to agree in a criminal jury. It has to be unanimous. It has to be a unanimous jury verdict. And that's what we're pushing for, is to restore unanimous jury verdicts to Louisiana. People don't realize from 1803 to 1880, we had unanimous jury verdicts. The law was changed in 1880, so for 138 years, a person could be convicted of a felony without a unanimous vote of the jury. And the simple question is, how can you say a person's been convicted beyond a reasonable doubt if 1 or 2 people on the jury still have doubts? So, Antonin Scalia was a big supporter of unanimous juries. It goes all the way back to James Madison and John Adams, the framers of the Constitution, believed that unanimity was critical to the jury trial protection. And so what we've been working to do is just to restore the full protection of the right to trial by jury to the citizens in Louisiana. And it's an exciting effort, and I believe we're going to be successful today. I've asked people to pray about it, and just pray and ask the legislators to do the right thing, because I think this is the right thing for Louisiana.
All right, Ed. Good luck. We'll see what happens.
Hey, thank you so much, Moon. Look, you have a good rest of the day. We'll be talking to you again soon.
All right, Ed Tarpley. Appreciate it, Ed. He used to be a former DA, so I think this is a cause he's been on for a while. Brandon, I don't know if you saw this. Sarah Sanderson says the whining kids best practice for dealing with C&M Jim Acosta. I mean, she's really good. She's getting better. She's not letting him get to her. He's a bully guy that's trying to bully a woman, but if you bully a conservative woman or a Christian woman, you can do that. Just don't bully a liberal. She said both of them talking about the kids and Jim Acosta, they both whine pretty regularly. Is that not a good line? I bet that guy wimps out. Oh, I hope the woman beat him to death. They both like to ask the same question, and sometimes their tone needs to be adjusted a little bit. So I think that having kids has prepared me for a job that I have right now. Sanders responded to the Daily Caller's question. What's more difficult, dealing with your children or on his day of dealing with CNN reporter Jim Acosta? She said, in all seriousness, I think that having kids is a great preparation for anything, especially a job you need patience for, and they've certainly prepared me for this one. And by the way, they both stink sometimes. They do. I just Randy ain't had a baby yet, trust me. They both stink sometimes. Reporters stink most of the time, though. Babies actually smell good. You just got to clean them up and move on. A reporter, they stink all the time. They don't really care.
A liberal reporter, I assume you're talking about, not all reporters.
Liberal, leftist, left-leaning, left lunatic nut, global warming believer. How about that?
All right, glad you cleared that up.
Oh, I cleared it up. I hope I cleared it up nicely. All right, that's it. See you tomorrow. God bless. Terrific Tuesday tomorrow.